Well, welcome to another session of training for small group leaders. And like we've said before, what you do is absolutely vital to the health of Jesus' church. So one more time, let me just say thank you. What you do matters for eternity. And I hope you just feel the smile of God on your life every time you interact with your group and you lead them closer to full devotion to Christ. Now, before we get started with the training, make sure you have your viewer's guide printed out and right there in front of you so you can fill in all those blanks and you can keep this information and review it as you go through your time as a leader. So if not, just press pause on the video right now and go ahead and print that out. The link for the viewer's guide should be right below this screen. Well, as you already know, your personal mission is to create an environment that encourages relational connections and helps group members take spiritual next steps. Now, last time we talked about what spiritual next steps were, how to help people take them. This time I want to talk to you about how you can encourage your group to make those relational connections. You know, the truth about us is that we all have a God-given need to be connected in community with other people. I was just reminded of that fact the other night. I was flipping through the television channels, trying to find something to watch, and I stumbled across a channel that was replaying the final episode of the series Friends. You remember what a big deal that was in our culture when Friends went off the air? I mean, this was a show that had pretty much defined television in the 90s. So for 10 years, people were so attached to these characters, and when you think about it, there really wasn't all that much to the show. I mean, it was just 6 friends, the ups and downs of their relationships, and that was it. But, you know, I just had to stop, and I had to watch that final episode one more time, and I remember when it ended, I just admit to you, it was kind of an emotional thing to watch. Because we just buy into that connection that those characters had with each other. And for people who followed the show, I think we all kind of felt something when we watched those relationships come to an end. And somewhere deep down inside of everyone is a longing to have friends like that, to belong to a little community where there's connection and laughter and sharing and care and love. And see, that was God's design for us from the beginning. And I think it's something that most people come looking for when they sign up to be in a small group. They may not know how to do it, but they still want it, and they still need it. I mean, growing as a Christian is a great byproduct of being in a small group, but if that was the only thing people came for, they could find lots of other places and lots of other methods to get that done. We enter into community looking for relational connections. So how do we create communities like that? How do we create groups where connection can take place and relationships can form and grow? Well, let me give you just a few suggestions, and you might want to just consider these. Number 1, let the connection start with you. Open your heart to your group as much as you feel comfortable doing so. Being authentic will let them know that you don't have it all together either. And when you communicate openness like that, you just make it safer for others in the group to do the same. It's actually a good thing to say things like this. Hey, that's a good question, and I don't have the answer to that one. Or, I'm not really sure what the right thing is here. Or, I'm just as lost or confused as you guys. Because see, if you're nervous or worried about something, you need to let the group know it. If you need their prayers or their support, tell them. The group will most likely begin to follow your example. Because when you're authentic, they'll be authentic. And it's that kind of authenticity that leads the group into a closer connection with one another. Number 2, encourage deeper discussions. You know, one of the advantages of having questions prepared ahead of time is most everybody comes to group with at least some thoughts already on their minds about the discussion. Make sure you invite everyone in the group to participate in the discussion time. If someone hasn't had a chance to speak yet, ask them specifically, hey, what did you write down for that question? Ask some follow-up questions that'll kind of lead people a little bit deeper into the topic. Sometimes when you have a group larger than 7 or 8, it just helps to divide the group up for part of the discussion time. You might want to break them into groups of 3 or 4 for just a few questions or to have prayer together. This allows people to feel like they've been heard, and some closer relationships can really develop out of that. Number 3, don't run from questions or conflict. Embrace them. You know, sometimes people will ask questions or they'll say things that, well, just make other people uncomfortable. That's not something that you should be afraid of. Actually, conflict can kind of solidify community better than almost anything else. Make sure your group becomes a place where it's just okay to disagree with you or other group members, and yes, even the video teachers. But always make sure that that conflict is handled in a God-honoring way, and people come out on the other end loving and respecting one another through all of it. Healthy groups do have conflict. Healthy discussions have unanswered questions. Just like the Bible says, iron sharpens iron. We grow better as we challenge one another. If you run into a situation that you're not sure how to handle, just tell the group that and then talk it over with your team leader later on in that week. And then you just go back to group the next time and bring an answer or what you've learned the next time you meet together. Number 4, encourage shared ownership in your group. You know, when you get this one right, the group goes from being your group to being their group. Ask other people to read the questions sometimes. Rotate locations. Meet in someone else's home every now and then. Share the responsibilities of bringing the food. I mean, the list goes on and on of ways that you can involve everyone in what you guys do each and every week. Number 5, cultivate friendships and just do life together. Now, this is probably the most important part of this whole discussion. You need to do things together that have nothing to do with the formal group meeting. You need to celebrate their birthdays. You need to celebrate anniversaries or job promotions or house closings. I mean, any occasion you can think of. Celebrate one another's lives. Take one of your meetings every 4 to 6 weeks and honestly, just blow the video off one week and have a party together. Now, I'm going to say that again because some of you think you just heard me wrong. Yes, I said you can ditch the lesson and throw a party every now and then. Not every week, but every so often. It's okay. We won't hunt you down. We won't revoke your leadership status. I mean, when groups are about more than just sitting and answering questions, that's when real relationship starts to form. Find a common interest. Enjoy it together. Plan a meal and just eat together. Some groups do that every single week, and they grow together through that time around a table. In one group I know, the ladies plan a girls' night out every now and then. And then the guys will get together and watch ball games together. Maybe someone in the group is working on something in their house. Well, why don't you just get all the group members together and go over there and help? Friendships develop from doing life together. So be creative. Find ways to get that done. It might not happen overnight. In fact, it probably won't. But over the long haul, you can encourage relationships to grow. And when they do, you'll see life change will happen even better. Full devotion to Christ comes easier. And it's all because we were wired up that way. Continue to talk this over with your team leader and just work to see those relational connections begin to happen in your small group. Thanks again for watching.